Well, guys, we're going to kick it off here. First off, Caleb, obviously appreciate you taking the time, man. Excited for this. Caleb, just to give people, I guess, the context, if you want to give a quick intro on where you're currently at, then we'll take a little bit of a peek at where you were, let's say, a couple of months back, and then we'll go into kind of that journey up until now. But just a quick intro to get this kicked off.
Of course. As some of you know, my name's Kaleb Nixon. I've been in the game for about 3 months. Where I'm sitting at right now is around 6,000 a month. I've got 8 clients, continuous, and then two in the works. So should be at 10 clients by mid-June, and then they all pay roughly around the 540 to 600 a month. And then I also do websites as well. And I started when I came into the program, I think Adam, about 3 months ago now,
Yeah, about 3 months.
um, give or take. And I mean, I was at no clients. I had a plan and I had a vision of where I wanted to go.
Hmm.
I'll take it back. I did have one client, but it was just a family member. So you know, take that as you will. But from there, I think I didn't have any structure. I didn't have any plan. I just had a vision of where I wanted to be, and how I wanted my end goal to be at the end
Hmm.
when I got to the end of the program. But there was no structure. When we had our initial call, my biggest thing was I don't have any systems. I don't know how to do any deliverables. I don't like, I'm trying to learn all of this from the ground up. I watched your 8 hour YouTube video. I
Hmm.
watched probably every YouTube video you put out there, and all the free information you gave was incredible. So that was the starting point I had as far as setting all my systems up
Hmm.
initially. Um, and then from there, yeah, I knew I needed a mentor. I knew I needed people I could talk to. I knew I was going to have struggles. I've started plenty of businesses before. I've been in the realm of entrepreneurship for
Hmm.
like we were talking about. I mean, geez, probably 12 years now,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, and I just never had anything I could sink my teeth into and really commit to. And when I had those downturns, there's nobody to fall back on because, my friends, most of them are doing successful in what they're doing, but it's not entrepreneurship. My mom is a great entrepreneur, but she has her own business and she has her own issues and problems and stuff like that that doesn't relate to mine. So whenever I would run into issues, there's nobody to go on that has that success in what I wanted to do until I came to you guys.
Love it, man. Love it. That's a great intro as to where you're at, man. And just for the full context, like this isn't your full-time thing, right? You've got obviously a whole lot of other commitments as well. So I think it'd be awesome if you could share whatever you want, Caleb, as to how much that you want to share. But just so people kind of get that you're doing 6K a month, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's your full-time everyday thing that, the only thing that you focus on right now.
Of course, Adam. So right now, the holistic view of
Hmm.
everything. I'm full time in the United States Army. I work with the United States Army parachute team, so the Golden Knights. If you're in America or if you're in the UK or Europe, then if you've seen anybody skydive, it's either one of four skydiving teams in the world that do it for their military. So the two most popular are the Golden Knights and the Red Devils. And so if you've seen smoke in the sky and people in a parachute, then it's probably to one of those two teams. And so it's definitely an honor to um, have the opportunity that I do in the military because it's
Hmm.
extremely rare.
Hmm.
Um, but that is without a doubt a more than full-time job,
Hmm.
as people understand. And I'm always on call. If I work on the back end of things, so if anybody has any pay issues, if any has any issues that don't involve um, going out and jumping a plane, then I usually have an answer for those questions. Um, So on top of that, I'm, you know, very involved in like fitness and golf, and I'm a huge family person, so family's always going to come first. And that going into my schedule, that's always what I prioritize. So um, if I have to make any sacrifices, everything is always going to make a sacrifice. My family's always going to come first.
Hmm.
So I also develop everything around that. So I make sure that I'm going to take the sacrifice and I'm going to work the long nights and, and not sleep as many hours as I should, to make sure that I'm there and I'm present, being a present dad and husband and everything. So uh, when the kiddos go down and they're passed out at 8, I'm working my 8 to 12, creating content and editing content and creating the calendars, and anything that I have to do is going to be in that time frame. And then obviously I'm working from uh, 8 to 3, 8 to 4, give or take, depending
Hmm.
on how busy I am throughout the week. Uh, but that's definitely where my priorities are, as far as everything all encompassing.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, man. And I guess the first question people are probably going to have, Caleb, is like, how? Like how do you work an incredibly full-on job? How do you manage family and all of that that comes with it? And then also like have not just like the time, but I think more even just like the mental energy, the mental energy to then go, okay, I'm going to start this new thing with a whole new learning curve, and I'm going to have to start everything from scratch. I'd love to know if you have any thoughts on that. I imagine, being in the military, there's probably a lot of that I imagine kind of leans into this in terms of just mental fortitude and discipline and all of that. But just curious, I feel like a lot of people will be thinking that right now.
So to take that on as everything. So let's start with the learning curve, right? Because as everyone knows, in this business is a huge learning curve. And this is kind of a mental subject, but everything that I've ever done and everything that you guys have ever done, when it comes to business, you're going to, at least this is what I do. Is I try to soak up as much knowledge about the situation as I possibly can in the beginning before I do anything, before I ever do anything, before I ever get involved and jump into the subject. I try to soak up as much knowledge as I can about whatever subject it is. Regardless of how much knowledge you soak up, once you start doing it, you are going to learn so much more about the topic, and about the business and just about how to structure everything. So, there's only so much that I'm going to be able to give about that structure. But what I will say is, and this goes along with the mental fortitude, is everyone's going to have their highs, everyone's going to have their lows. I've been on one-on-ones plenty of times on here talking about, man, this week is just kicking my butt. It's I'm just not mentally there. I actually have a recorded one-on-one that I recorded from your recording of one of our one-on-ones. I think it was probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago now. And I was sitting in my Jeep, lunch break. It had been a long morning. I barely made the call, and I was just, the lowest motivation you could ever be at, and
Hmm. Hmm.
what some of the lowest motivation you can ever be
Hmm.
at. And the reason I believe the reason I was so unmotivated is just because now I've always lived this way, but um, Alex Hormozy has much more experience in building businesses and huge platform and everything. And I actually saw a video where he literally went verbatim for what I tell like my friends that want to get into business and stuff like that. Is there's a learning curve. This is what I kind of want to go back to about the learning curve. Is I try to soak up as much knowledge as I can, and when I get all that knowledge, that's when I'm going to start, and it's going to go back down into the wave, and
Hmm.
then I'm going to uh, have everything that I learned that is either going to be true, it's going to be not true, or it's going to be harder than I thought. And then I'm going to be at that low motivation of like, damn, this is much harder than I thought it was going to be. But I know more now. And then slowly, once you push out of that, you're going to ride the wave back up. You get more motivated. You're like, oh, I could definitely do this. You're going to hit another peak. Same thing's going to happen. Something else is going to happen. You're going to lose a client. You're going to have a frustrated client. You're going to, I mean, God forbid, you're going to lose somebody on the team. Like if they quit, up and leave you, what have you, something's going to happen. And it's going to be another hurdle you have to overcome that you haven't done before. And it's just a continuous flow of that. And for anyone that's familiar with Eric Thomas, um, motivational speaker, is just no matter how hard the days get, no matter how hurt you are, no matter how tired you are, no matter how unmotivated you are, as long as you can keep pushing through that, eventually it will subside. Eventually it will give in. And what's going to take its place is success, is those results you're looking for. And so that's really what I keep in the back of my mind. Anytime that, I'm working long days, I'm sick, I just got out of like work 13-hour shift, what have you, just came from the road for 5 days, like whatever the thing is, I'm always going to have in the back of my mind. It doesn't matter how hard it is right now. This is my why. This is my goal
Mhm.
that I have. I'm going to keep pushing until I get there. And when I get there, I'm going to have a new goal. And then that just keeps repeating itself.
Love it, man. Love it. It's kind of reminds me of this too shall pass. That
I,
mindset of, wherever we're at,
absolutely.
good, bad, okay, it's gonna pass, right? And I think
Absolutely.
that kind of awareness, even when I look back for myself starting, yeah, if I wasn't aware of that concept, things would have been way more difficult because when you book in a sales call with a prospect and they don't show, everybody's immediate reaction, of course, we're humans, we're emotional, is, oh my God, yeah, this is the worst thing ever. Or you have a call, they show a lot of interest. You pitch them, they say, yeah, great, fantastic. You send over the proposal and then they ghost you. Same thing. You're going to have that immediate lull. And I think if people are unaware of the fact of what you mentioned, that this is just life, that this is going to happen and you're going to be up and down constantly, like every week, every month, then they're going to crumble under that pressure, and it's very, very easy for someone to do that. And I don't mean that in you know, a kind of throwing shame way. I mean, just like this is the reality. Like there's many times when I started, it would have been very convenient to just quit. Very convenient. Like it would have been
Absolutely.
logical to quit. But as you said, when
Absolutely.
you've got that clear vision and you say, well, look, the for lack of a better word, the shit is the shit, and I just have to go through the shit, then we can make peace with it and we can keep moving. So yeah, that's beautiful, man. I love that mindset around it because yeah, obviously your situation is such a yeah, I think it's just a very clear example of that. You got a lot of stuff going on. Anybody that's in that position has to have a clear vision. Like you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't have that clear vision. Like you definitely need that, but then you need that fortitude and that ability to regulate yourself when things are low to be able to say, hey, I just got to keep pushing this in a week, 2 weeks, could be 3 weeks, but I'm going to be back where I was. And I'm going to feel super charged up about this, pumped, and we're going to be laughing looking back. So yeah, that's awesome, man. In terms of service, Caleb, I know just before we started this, you were mentioning the website work you're doing that started to tick up. Okay, so you got a few more of those coming in. Just if you could break down for people the scope of services you're offering right now to clients, and yeah, if you want to touch more on that of like where you see that developing, as you go to let's say from 6K a month to 10K a month and beyond, do you think it's going to stay the same? Are you planning to change that, or what's kind of the vision there?
Yeah, I'd say right now, going back on the last subject, a really good, just short military saying that
Mhm.
we use and I've used in sports and stuff like that is just embrace the suck. Like it's gonna
Embrace the
suck
suck.
right
Yeah,
now,
I love it.
just embrace it
Yeah,
and just own it and then move on.
yeah.
Just keep doing what you're doing. Um, but as far as deliverables, so what I do is I mainly focus on Instagram. I tried, and just like a lot of us do, okay, I'm going to be completely transparent here. And I'm sure Adam knows what I'm probably about to say, is I tried to do absolutely everything when I started. I thought I could handle it all. I thought, I'm going to do video editing. I'm going to do Instagram Reels. I'm going to do TikTok. I'm going to do static posts. I'm going to do graphic design. I'm going to do logos. I'm going to do websites. Crazy. And I genuinely thought I could do it. And I did for what, a month and a half. And what I realized is I was not the profit, the my profit margins were not as high as if I were to just zero in and focus on my highest profit margin deliverables. So right now, I still do logos, I still do websites, but that is I have almost entirely um, freelance that out or task that out to my graphic designer and web designer. Um, so I pay them around 70% of my total,
Hmm.
uh, like what my clients pay me for those website and logos. I pay them around 70% of that for just the convenience of not having to do pretty much any of it. So I just have 30% profit, you know, right off the bottom, I guess you could
Hmm.
say, but
Hmm.
right off the top. And then, but it's just extra money that if I have a website or if I have a website logo package, which I'm averaging around 2 to 3 a month. So that's just profit that I wasn't anticipating, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, that's the very like low hanging fruit that you famously advice gave me because
Hmm.
I was not having relinquishing uh, that website because it was free money and it would only
Hmm.
take about a week to make. But that week that I was making them, it was just so hard. Like I was working easily 110-hour weeks, easily. Not on just the social media marketing, but
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
I was easily working 110 hours a week, and it just wasn't sustainable long term. And so, if I could hire somebody to do that, take the profit on the top, then that's what I'm going to do. Um, and then over time, that graphic designer was actually able to, web designer was actually able to come on and be my graphic designer as well. So I pay her for website design and I pay her for graphic design, and we have an awesome relationship as far as doing that kind of work. She's amazing. Um, have all my clients are happy, and it's just my profit margins are fantastic. She's making money. It's just overall great. Uh, you know, overall great system.
Yeah.
And then as far as what I personally do, what my main focus now, since I've hired and I set all of that aside, my main focus is graphic design as far as the static posts. So I will create carousels, I will create quote posts, I will create picture posts. Like I'll edit their pictures that they send me just to make them look a little bit better. They'll send them blurry. I'll unblurry them, highlight them, blur the background, make them pop, stuff like that. That is my actual deliverables. I do everything in Canva, or if I have to get a little bit more precise, then I'll get into Photoshop. But that is my actual deliverables. And what I've mentioned this to Adam as well is what has made it extremely easy for me is, and this is no promotion, but is the app called Rella. It has saved me so much time. It is unbelievable. Um, it uploads straight from Canva. It does scheduling. It connects to all your apps. It's only 28 bucks a month. And I have what we can do the math. I mean, I have 8 clients. I post for 7 of them. So I've got 7 clients, 3 each. So I have 20, so 21 socials. Pretty,
Yeah.
yeah, 21 socials. I pay 28 bucks a month.
It's incredible.
Uh, and it's amazing. And then they're reintroducing the AI. So once their AI goes in, then I will literally be able to connect my AI straight to Canva and Zapier, and then it will automatically make those posts for me, and then it'll generate a caption, it'll generate hashtags through ChatGPT, generate all of those type of things, and then it will automatically post for me as well. So extremely um, like looking forward to that to see if that actually works. But that is not set in stone yet. That's just,
Mhm.
what they've said that's going to happen.
Solid, man. Solid. And there was something I wanted to piggyback off of there, the setup you have with the web design projects and the logos, where I know some people will hear that and they'll be like, whoa, 70% of what you're getting paid, you're paying out and you're only keeping 30. But as you mentioned, it's like it's purely a hands-off service.
Yes.
It's money that you either wouldn't get, or like you said, you would do all the work and hence just spend way too much time. And I actually spoke about this yesterday on one of the coaching calls with Mao, one of the guys in the group, and he's
Mhm.
doing the same thing. He's got, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think he's doing like ebooks, flyers, that kind of thing. So similar to,
Yeah.
say, let's say, like a logo design. And he's actually working with the designer that I used to work with because I referred him
Ah,
over to him. And I was
right.
like, I used to do the same with that designer. Like that was the same thing we did because again, it was like free money. We would have clients the odd time go, hey, by any chance do you guys do ebooks? And we're like, look, that's not our scope, but we can do an ebook. Like we've got great designers. We just need you to give them a really good brief. If you give them a really good brief, we'll make it happen. And now we had it where we had a very good profit margin on that, but it was very much that's the brief, hand it to them, done. No work, like literally
Yeah.
no work. So just for everybody hearing, just to give that context, like for most clients, we are trying to get those higher profit margins, of course, those kind of 70, 80%. But that right there, it's just free money. So you may as well.
Yeah.
Why
And
not?
I mean, the 30%, like we're still talking about 30% of 12 to $1,400.
There you go.
So,
Still a chunk of
you know,
change.
yeah, it's still around $400.
Yeah.
And all I do is send them a questionnaire.
Boom.
Like I do the sales call and I send them a questionnaire.
Easy.
That's
Easy.
it.
It can be such a good value add as well for current clients, keeping them long
Absolutely.
term, because I'm thinking our very first client stayed with us 20 months, right? And I really believe a strong part of that was kind of when they had anything they needed, we would try and help. Obviously, that didn't
Yes.
mean we were going to do their email marketing and we do their SEO, right? We obviously didn't blur that line, but anything content graphic related, if they needed something for a blog post, we'd be like, yeah, we'll get it done.
I
For
would
that
love to
simple
get into
reason.
that as well
Yeah,
as client relations.
for sure. For sure, man. Because of course, keeping clients, a lot of it's expectation and communication, right? They have a goal of, hey, you're going to do this with my social media. We need to match that. But a big part, of course, is when they've got these extra projects, these extra things they feel they need help with, if we can be the ones to serve them there, fantastic. And it's that
Yes.
that line that we have to be careful to tread because some people will hear that and go, cool, I'm going to do everything they ever need forever. And then that's not going to get you too far. You'll probably burn out quite quick. But definitely, man. Let's touch on that more in one of the next sessions for sure.
Okay.
Um, in terms of service then, Caleb, so
Mhm.
you were saying it's mainly Instagram. So are you doing full management packages mainly right now? Or what's the kind of full process look like?
So a little insight on my clients is they're all business professional clients, sales firm clients. So they own their own business and they're trying to, be professional in their field and attract interviews and stuff like that. So, and then just attract sales and stuff like that. So my biggest deliverable is just to make sure that they look more professional than uh, XYZ client
Yeah.
down the road or in their
Mm-hmm.
city
Mm-hmm.
or in their state or something like that. If they're down in Florida, then uh, if they're in Tampa, then I'll probably spend an hour trying to figure out uh, what their biggest competition is. I'll spend that hour, I'll block that time off, and I'll do a bunch of research on just, hey, what is this competitor doing? Okay, they're not on Instagram. They're not on Facebook, or they are on Facebook. They're not on TikTok. They're not consistent on LinkedIn. Um, I will take all that information, I put it in a little Excel, and then like I have an Excel for pretty much everything I do. I'm an Excel freaking guru. I love Excel or Google Sheets, but either one. Love it. But my wife makes fun of me all the time. But my whole life is on a Google Sheet. I kid you not. Um, but anyways, so I put all these competitors on there and I put all their information on there. And then from there, I just I always make sure that my client looks more approachable, more professional than any client within around a 100-mile radius. If there's a client within a 100-mile radius of my client, they should look more presentable and more professional on their website, on their Instagram. If we're running TikTok, if we're running LinkedIn, what have you, they should look more professional than their competitor.
Love it. Love it, man. And then what's the kind of standard breakdown of your package? Like, is it typically a certain number of posts that you're doing for, let's say, Instagram? When you're then managing the page, are you doing anything extra like posting stories, or is it very much just kind of the feed content, post that for them, and then they kind of handle the rest from there?
So this might kind of raise my eyebrows. Um, when I'll go into the whole story. So when I first started, I was like to the wall. I wanted to, you know, guru this, guru that. Everyone was talking about post 3 times a day, post
Hmm.
7 times
Hmm.
a week, at least post once a day, all these kind of things. And then I did that. I post every single day for my first couple clients. I was drained. There's no way that I'm going to make a decent amount of profit margin um, by hiring, a freelancer from the cheapest parts of the world. Like it
Hmm.
doesn't
Hmm.
matter how good they are, how cheap I can uh, get them on. I am still going to have very low profit margins because of how often I was going to be posting. And so from there, I just did as much analytics as I could do for about 2 weeks. And what I noticed is when I was posting about 3 times a week for like, and now my niche is different than I know a lot of people
Hmm.
here like in the fitness niche and stuff like that. Like this is just my niche. So I'm not giving you advice. I'm just saying this is what
Hmm.
I do. Um, so for my niche being in the business world, I saw so much better analytics per day when I was posting every other day or 3 times a week. So I adjusted accordingly. I just adjusted, okay, I'm gonna post 5 times a week. And then that was still really hard to get good profit margins. And then for my deliverables were really difficult to maintain. And because I started getting clients after that first month that I was on, I started getting referrals. Once I got to around 5 clients and I was posting 5 times a day for 5 clients, I'm doing all deliverables, still, doing everything that we already talked
Hmm.
about. It was definitely getting really difficult. So here recently, probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I dialed back. My deliverables is I do 3 posts a week. That's it. And I
Okay.
make it very clear on everything that I give on the agreement, on the sales process, everything that we do, 3 posts a week is all I do. Now, this can be 3 posts a week on Instagram and then 3 posts a week on LinkedIn, but it is never going to get more than 3 per platform because I can manage that. If we're posting 3 on Instagram, 3 on Facebook, um, 3 on LinkedIn, all 3 of those posts hypothetically could be the same post, just edited slightly different. Um, so I only do 3 posts a week. And then from there, I do my graphic designer does 5 of my clients and she handles all 3 of those posts for 5 of my clients. So right now I only do deliverables on 2 of my clients as far as for myself.
Hmm.
So that's a
Hmm.
long way of saying I
Hmm.
just I only do three posts a week now.
Solid, man. Solid. Love it. Love it. And what we'll do pretty soon is we'll open up the chat just to get some questions going from the guys that are on here as well. The other thing I wanted to kind of dive into, Caleb, was more so, for most people, the biggest thing is obviously starting. That's the most difficult thing. Like actually getting the idea, which we all have those business ideas, we come across somebody online, but then actually taking that and going, cool, I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to go and do this thing. I'd love to know, just off the top of your head, any advice that you feel beginners need to know. What is what is that thing that you feel, even for yourself, that let's say before you got to that point, right? Before you got to make that decision, like what would have helped you actually get started sooner rather than maybe waiting or starting and just doing it in the wrong way?
It's a great question. I would say that the biggest thing I can give for just starting is, like we kind of briefly touched on, is I'm going to absorb as much information on the topic as I can. Once I have all the information that I have, that's when I'm going to put everything I have into being successful in this realm. So if I go out and I put 40 hours of studying a week into a subject, at the end of that week, I'm going to make it a point of starting. And if I start and a week from now things aren't where they're supposed to be, then I'm going to go right back to what we talked about before. It's
Mm-hmm.
the wave. Like
Yeah,
I'm at that low motivation of why am I doing this? There's no I'm not going to get any better. We're at that low motivation. It's only up from there.
for sure.
Like once you've started, as long as you can start the process, you are always going to learn. And you can only get better. If you just start, it's always going to get better. The main thing that I keep in my head is where am I going to be a year from now? If I keep getting 1% better every single day, where am I going to be a year from now? And that 1% might be averaged out throughout the year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but if I can make sure that I'm at least trying that day to get somewhat better, I'm reading a book, I get into the modules, I talk to the coaches, like I do anything to make myself that I feel like I haven't learned anything that day. I need to learn something. That's what I'm going to do. And I feel like that really helped me in the very beginning. Is anytime I had a question or anytime I had a concern, I was getting in the modules. I was talking to you. I was talking to Ty. Like I was in the chat a lot. Like at a point where I know y'all say you never get annoyed, but I've there's sometimes it is just like I promise you guys, like they're very professional, and there was plenty of times where those voice messages from me was 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, paragraph, three paragraphs. So I just highly recommend when you're in that moment of just starting out and to just start. And you're only going to learn from there. I know you hear it a million times, and hopefully a million and one is going to help you get started. But if you just start, you're going to learn so much more than any preparation you could do.
Love it, man. Couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better. Just start, and then obviously, if you're working with us, use it. Like
Of course,
actually use
absolutely.
it. Watch the content, ask the questions. That's how you get ahead. 100%, man. Love it.
And onto the modules like that. I don't know if that gets brought up enough anymore, but
Mhm.
like you pay for the course and you have the mentorship, but those modules are just there's so much information in there. If you watch the whole thing and you take notes, and on your notes that you can take it on your computer. I do it on my just Google Sheets, but like I said, Google Sheet, but because
Not
I'll put
surprised.
the module, but and I'll put the link that I can go into that module, but like just have your notes of what module. Oh, hey, that really stand out. I'm having issues with that. I can come back to that later. They are so important, especially just starting out when you might watch the module and just be like, yeah, that's important. I really need to do that. But did you really act on it? And that's the main thing that I try to make sure I did is every single time that there was something important in those modules, I acted on it.
Love it, man. Absolutely love it. What I'll do now, Caleb, is I'll check into the chat, see what questions we got there, man. But yeah, fantastic, man. Fantastic. For the public interview, probably we're going to cut it here, guys. We're going to do a little Q&A for members of the group here. But I hope you enjoyed. And Caleb, again, Appreciate it, man. Means a lot for you to
Thank you.
take time out of a very busy schedule already to put this in the calendar and to spend the time with us, man. So
Of
just
course,
yeah,
anytime.
really appreciate it, man.